bring this Selectmen's meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll start with department head updates. Who wants to go first? Tim Brown.
Still plugging along on storm damage. We've come a long ways. All the roads are all set for winter. We just got some more ditching to do, and then next year we'll start putting them completely back together. In our spare time, we're getting our plow stuff ready. Obviously, it's that time of year, and that's about it.
Rusty?
Just clean up, get ready for the weather. Finishing some things outdoors, painting, trim work, stuff in the buildings. Cleaned out the CD compactor. We're going to go back to MSW soon, so that's about it.
How's the tire barn coming?
Good. Probably clean Wednesday. Everything else, so we just need weather to cooperate now. Again, we're not doing anything with public.
Tim Bilodeau, do you have anything?
Sure. Just finished up installing the chlorine tanks down the lagoons. Got that done late last week. Actually got our first chlorine delivery with the new tanks, and knock on wood, we didn't have any leaks, so apparently we did it correctly. I think we've got like 20 or so hydrants left to paint. We've painted basically 137 fire hydrants, so that'll be good. We'll be reading water meters coincidentally soon. And after Columbus Day, we'll be shutting all the fountains in town off and putting all the stuff away for winter. That's about it.
And do we have any other department head here?
No, Robinson.
All right. So we'll move on to probably the main event for the night. A public hearing on water and sewer rate change.
Do you want to do Rob's appointment?
Skipped right over it. Rob, you're up next, actually, with the Riparian Restoration Project and ARM Fund application rescission.
All right. I was all excited when you skipped over me. I thought, well, that's pretty good. I'll get off.
Trying to rush through.
No comment. So I'm here, I've got two hats on. As you know, sometimes you're a citizen and sometimes you have responsibilities. And the hat I'm wearing for responsibility is town representative to the River Commission. And so as on the River Commission, we review a lot of the permit applications and DES questions with respect to the Connecticut River. And the big one lately has been the Riparian Restoration Project at the Lancaster Elementary School. So I'm here tonight to ask for general summary and clarification of the status of the project and who's doing what, when, and how. I've seen, and we've discussed in this forum, the River Restoration Fund, the ARM Fund project, and I think the status of that is we decided not to accept it. There are some procedural things that I'm wondering about a little bit. For instance, I get permit applications signed by Sam Main, the chairman of the Conservation Commission, I guess on behalf of the Lancaster Conservation Commission, but some of these things I think involve spending money on behalf of the town. And my recollection from the select board minutes is that the ability to sign documents and execute on behalf of the select board was delegated to Ben Olson as town manager. And yet I'm seeing Sam's signatures on a lot of things representing the Conservation Commission. I think he does it because somebody's got to do it and it's got to be done. But I want to make sure that all the procedures are done, especially when we have this grant program of almost $400,000. And some of the things I see, I haven't heard about in the select board meetings or Conservation Commission meetings. So what I'm seeking tonight is I'm making a request so that the next meeting I can have sort of a clarification that I can use to represent the town in discussions, permit discussions and stuff. I'm not sure what the full scope of the project is now, since the contemplated application was for about $370,000 or $380,000, but now it looks like 140 of it is going away because we don't have the ARM fund grant. So if we cut it in half, I'd like some clarification about what we intend to do. Also, there are, I know that when we hire on behalf of the town, we have to have requests for proposals, we have to advertise and stuff, and I'm not sure that that's being done because some of the narrative, for instance, there's a consulting firm called Wind and Water who's apparently being paid, but I don't know from what funds, and I haven't ever seen any solicitations for that kind of work. Also, I work with the Connecticut River Conservancy because they're one of the foundations that is very active in our basin. And they tell me that they've been spending funds quietly, as they say, on behalf of this project. And I'd like to see an enumeration of how much and how that's done. And if there's hiring involved, you know, is that being approved? Is that according to Hoyle? And so again, I think that we have a project that's turned out to be fairly complex, has a lot of moving parts, but my basic request is that we find out what we are doing from this point forward, who's actually entitled to spend money and sign things, and how we can do this efficiently. Sometimes it is more efficient if somebody like Sam, who knows how it's all working, can just execute things, but I think it's important that if he's given that authority by the select board, that it's properly delegated. So, in sum, the ARM fund application mentions almost a $400,000 project, about $230,000 contemplated from the Mitigation Enhancement Fund, which is the Forest Service fund, but when we look at the budget books right now, we see instead of $236,000, we have maybe $20,000 or $25,000 that's been granted. And there's the Moose Plate Fund, which apparently has been granted and the town has set up accounts for, but I'm not sure what the spending is going on, and when I'm asked to comment on a permit to the state, I don't know what to say because I don't know whether it's authorized properly. And again, I'm not here to be critical. I think that Sam, I've been on the Conservation Commission, and sometimes to get things done, you just have to dig in and go forward. But with the amount of money that we have going here, I think it's important that things be, you know, that the select board stand behind Sam if you're giving him authority to spend, and that we figure out what's going on with the various monies. So that's wearing my Conservation Commission hat. No, not my Conservation Commission. That was before wearing my River Commission hat. And so the River Commission, everybody involved is very interested in supporting the project. And Connecticut River Conservancy has put money and effort into it. And I think that the ARM Fund has, despite the contingencies that they put on the project, have thought that it's a worthy project. And one of the things that I'm wondering about is the school district is obviously a partner in this project. And they're mentioned in the fund applications and in the landowners. And if we have turning back the ARM fund, grant opportunity. Has the SAU 36 been involved in declining the fund, or are we just sort of telling it we're not going to do it, so they have to go with the way it rolls? I think going forward on any project that involves a number of political jurisdictions, it's a good idea that everybody be brought into the process. And so, and I know that everyone on the select board in the last couple of meetings has indicated a willingness to support the project and will help Sam in any way he can, or the Conservation Commission. I say Sam because he's in the job right now. This isn't you personally. But these are important things, and that's what I wanted to appear about, is to make my request tonight that at the next meeting we have a summary of what our position is and what to go forward, so I know what to take to the other meetings. And one of the reasons for asking for the next meeting is because I think the Conservation Commission meets between now and then, and should any of that stuff need to be discussed or divulged or discovered in the Conservation Commission, this is the opportunity. Are there any questions from anybody about the project or what's going on? Or Sam, do you have anything I can do for you?
I don't think so. I could give a brief update of where it stands as I see it at the moment.
Well, I thought that would be up to the board if they want to do that. My thought was to just pose the question and give them a chance to discuss it too. But
A brief update.
Yeah, if Sam feels comfortable giving a brief update.
Yeah.
Right now, that's good.
So,
Sam, sorry.
Yeah.
Would you mind coming to the microphone?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't get picked up.
and I didn't introduce
didn't
myself.
know there's the mic.
It doesn't get picked up on the recording, and it's,
And this is Sam Main, the chairman of our Conservation Commission.
Hey folks, Sam Main. I guess I'll speak this way, but so the update, kind of brief overview of where we are with the project is, as Rob correctly identified, the total cost of all the things that we would love to do on the floodplain and riparian area could well be in the $400,000 range. At the moment, all of our grant agreements and discussions with the school and all of our partners is basically, we're going to pick off the parts that we can fund with a grant. Right now we have the $30,000 Moose Plate grant and the $26,000 MEF grant. We were hoping to have the ARM grant, but for reasons that we discussed a lot at the last meeting, I don't think it makes sense to accept that one. And so we have those two existing grants. We have used the Moose Plate grants for planting a bunch of trees, doing some invasive treatment, and developing the design for the wetland restoration in a little more detail. And so that's really the only grant so far that we've spent any money out of. And the goal would be to plant about twice as many trees as we have so far and do a fairly intensive, involving heavy machinery wetland restoration. Exact details to be determined. We're waiting on the design at the moment. That would be where the real expense comes in, which would require us to have other grants in place. And so, yes, the total project could be $400,000, right? We haven't, the only thing we've committed to doing is what we currently have basically Moose Plate funds for. Did I cover?
what's a conservancy funded?
Oh, yeah. So I will say I haven't tracked this exactly because it's just been them paying somebody directly, and
Even through.
It hasn't been through the town at all.
Got it.
They paid someone to do some honeysuckle removal. I believe they paid for some design work by two different people. And actually the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has also done some direct payment of contractors, but those have all been handled as they are directly working with the organization, and they're not. I'm helping like manage the school relationship and things like that, but no money is going through the town.
So we'd consider that in-kind contributions to the project, no
Right.
money is passed through the town
Right.
books or the Conservation Commission?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more discussion of Conservation Commission?
No, I think that will cover it for now.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Be on the
Next Tuesday, Rob, if you want to be at the
thing for next meeting.
Yeah.
With that being said, we'll move on to the public hearing for the water and sewer rate change. And
Need a motion to go into
Public hearing?
public?
yes, motion to go into a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to go into a public hearing. This should be a roll call. Shane?
Aye.
KJ?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. The public hearing is in session. And start with the board, or Jessica?
Yeah, I just want to remind folks of the Select Board Rules of Procedure. So each speaker for or against the matter before the Select Board for all public hearings shall identify him or herself by name and address. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes and required to speak about the matter under consideration. The presiding officer has the right to forbid repetition among speakers. When everyone wanting to speak has had one opportunity to speak, the presiding officer shall call for anyone wanting to speak a second time. Under the public hearing for this evening, the proposed sewer rates are, for all classes, residential, commercial, and agricultural, for $6.50 per 1,000 up to $1,050 per 1,000 over 1 million. And the proposed sewer usage rate will be $6.50 per 1,000. Are there any comments? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is John Fredette. I live on Portland Street. I want to just give a compliment to these guys right here. Your water, sewer, your highway. You guys don't realize it, and maybe you do. You got a great crew here. Now, I know there's going to be an issue about this water sewer thing, but I want the public to know, and some I know don't know. Your stormwater that's all on your side streets, as you people should know, he has to treat that water. When it's raining like today, he's treating stormwater, not just wastewater. We have lagoons that are getting outdated. I've spoken with this gentleman several times about this. And what the town needs to understand, previous administrators in this operation have neglected to put monies aside in a fund that when these lagoons, your treatment facility, start to slow down, it's going to fall on him. He's not doing his job. Well, the man's doing his job. He's got a 3-man crew. You're damn lucky to have a 3-man crew doing what they do. How many hydrants did he say he just painted? They got to go out and clean those hydrants in the wintertime. Now, the sewer, I was in the sewer section back home, so I know the difference. When you're treating stormwater with sewer water, he's got to make sure the discharge that goes in the Connecticut River is safe. Well, you know who comes down on? Him. He's the chemist. He's going to make sure all that stuff is treated correctly. But when he's overwhelmed, like we had a recent rainstorm, how many times were you guys out? Now, I know the drill, but still, you're not out to lunch yet. But the thing is just to make people know, everybody that's on a ratepayer is going to be affected by this $6.50. The problem is, in the past, instead of having an escalation increase, you're on a septic system, you're on a sewer system. All these other people here, most of them, other than myself, I think, are on a sewer system. You're going to be really PO'd when your bill comes in. Now, I'm on a septic system, but if I choose to get onto the source, my septic fails, state law says I gotta hook into it. I'm gonna be affected by the rate, even though I have a well. He's gonna meter my well. So my waste is gonna be treated in his operation. So I'm defending these guys because I know the drill. I know what they're gonna be. And, you know, I gotta just say quickly, gentleman in the house here said I was a flatlander years ago when we started the master plan. Well, I might be a flatlander, but I like to contribute to the town. I love this town, and I feel bad for this guy. I feel bad for this guy. They take care of our streets like you can't believe. The streets need improvement. And that's only because, again, when the infrastructure in the ground is not sufficient, and our infrastructure in the ground is not sufficient. You got water, sewer pipes that are bad. Seriously bad, you all know that. But this guy, and everybody, I mean, the ones that run the town, everybody's gonna be affected by the rate, except for those who are not on public sewer. So I just wanted to make that aware, make that, you know, I know you people are here, and you're here to find out why the rates are up. Well, the rates are up because they didn't put the money away years ago. And your sewer treatment plant, you know, it's a little town, and you're very conservative. But you can be conservative and you can be frugal, but you gotta use your brain. Put your brain together. And these people up here, you people up here, got your hands full. You got them full. And all these people up here, I'm surprised this place isn't loaded. That's the only reason I'm up here, just to let the people who don't know that he's treating stormwater. And his sewer system and water system is not in the best of shape. We're looking at millions and millions and millions of dollars, folks, if we don't get the funding. But that's why the rates have got to go up in order to apply for grant funding. The government will help you, the state will help you for sewer, not stormwater. So the town has to buy the stormwater system. You're paying for it. All these catch basin drains, they get cleaned once a year. Truck comes in, cleans them. That's less grit in his system. I know, because I had to do 1,400 of them. I had 4,000 of them to do. So I understand, but I just want to plug. I just want the people to understand. I just wish there were more people here too, because I know this guy over here is a great guy, I tell you, but he's gonna bitch like hell.
I always do.
And that's what makes him good. And I point him because I like this guy. But the point is just for the people that are in the mobile home park, they have 1 meter. That meter feeds water, and all their sewer water goes down the drain. They're gonna feel a hell of a hunk, just like the homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Rick?
Well, I didn't think I'd say this, but I will. I'm very disappointed in the taxpayers because I think this is a piss poor turnout for what it's going to hurt our wallets. And I know it's not really your fault, and I agree with what Don said, but it's going to hurt. I just want you to think about that, but I blame it on the taxpayers, and I hope it goes to the newspapers. Because I think there should be a lot more people here than this.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Rita Ayers, Page Hill Co-op, sorry. I thank Don for pointing those items out to us that we weren't really aware of. I guess I just have to go on the other side and ask, we've been paying our water and sewer. I appreciate the work that everyone does. Where did the money go? And how did it go for 14 years without being found? I mean, that has to fall on somebody, and you just can't say it's on the past town managers. And were you the one that found it? Coming in new, you know, how did this go for so long and not get found? That's what has us dumbfounded. And like Don said, if we'd gotten some small increments over the years, you would understand it. But to go from here to here, it hurts.
And not to, but in the last 14 years, at 14 years ago, was that a sufficient spot? Over the years, plain and simple, trying to be frugal, trying to nickel and dime things, trying to make things last longer, which our town crew's pretty good at doing, we haven't raised that rate. And I think the realization came last town meeting, or the town meeting before, that, okay, we're really starting to go into a deficit here, and we really need to look at this. And we sat down, scratched on napkins and stuff the first time, trying to figure out what would work for a rate. I'm gonna pay the rate. I'm on town water and sewer. I hate to raise any fee that the town charges, but you also have to come to the realization that we've got some repairs that we need to do, and as he said, we've got a plant that's 50-something years old.
Oh, I understand.
And
yeah, I understand all of that.
So, yeah, it's gonna hurt. I'm gonna tell you what we're looking at now is to look at this again. We institute this rate. We're gonna look at it again in a year, and if we think it needs to go up, we'll be having another public hearing. Because what we heard at the last hearing was everyone wanted this to be phased in over a certain period of time. Ideally, we would have been able to do a smaller chunk to begin with, but really, when we looked at it, crunched the numbers again, to get back to an even keel, this was what we needed.
Yeah, I just have to look at it, you know, from a homeowner, and I may live in a mobile home, but it's a home. You know, it's as good as any of them out there. And I needed a new roof, okay? So I had to put my roof on. I couldn't buy a new vehicle. And I think as we need to stop buying all of these new vehicles, I know that these departments do a lot, but it just seems like there's new vehicles everywhere. And I'm driving a 7-year-old vehicle because I needed a new roof. And I just think, you know, that may be someplace that we have to do some savings, is stop buying vehicles. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Jessica.
I'd just like to bring up RSA 3829, it's water funds, for a clarification. The funds received from the collection of water rates shall be kept as a separate and distinct fund to be known as the water fund. Such fund will be allowed to accumulate from year to year, shall not be commingled with town or city tax revenues, and shall not be deemed part of the municipality's general fund accumulated surplus. Therefore, these funds that we collect for water and sewer rates are in their own specific funds, and they are not meant to be used for other departments.
So we have them?
If we are collecting, if we are collecting funds for water and sewer, they are meant to be used for those accounts.
But that's what I'm saying. We've got money in that fund. Has the money been going into that fund?
We've been running at a deficit, and I believe the last time we looked at it, we have about $16,000 in our water in the 2022 audit.
You talk that much from us.
Yes, Rob.
He should come up.
You gotta come up.
You gotta come up now.
Again, Rob Christie, 155 Mount Prospect Road in beautiful Lancaster, New Hampshire. I've been trying to look into the question about funds and stuff, and Ms. Sear has figured out what the rules are. If you look at the audited financial statements, that it shows that basically each department costs roughly $500,000 a year in expenses, and they throw a little bit of black ink from an accounting point of view, $30,000, $40,000. if you look at how much of the expenses are cash expenses, you find out that cash is contributed into the town coffers because the income statement includes $150,000 to $170,000 of depreciation. Now, depreciation is to account for what's used up in the course of business, but it is not cash. You don't have to write a check for the depreciation. So what I haven't been able to figure out is whether the accounting, where the cash goes. Is it being put into a fund, which may be suggested by the regulations, but I'm sure if we were doing something wild and crazy, the auditors would have said something about it in doing their financial statements, and they haven't. So if you look at the financial statements from the point of view of accounting, there is positive cash flow from the department, both water and sewer, on the order of $300,000 a year into the coffers. Now, whether that translates into something we can spend is a difficult question. If you look at the figures that the budget committee uses to set their facts and figures, that includes debt service. So debt service is not in the accounting financial statements. The current period interest is, but the amount of money that is actually used to pay off the bond issue is not. That's it. So that's where some of the cash goes, is it has to pay the bonds. One of the reasons I'm curious about all this is the select board, they have to make executive decisions, and they made a very good one, which was how much did it cost, how many gallons went through the pipe, divide the cost by the gallons, and that comes up with a figure. But I'm not sure that the figure that they're dividing by the number of gallons is the most appropriate one for financial planning. The good news is it's possible that it could be a lower number. But the bad news is if you use a lower number, you're not putting the money away for what they've obviously identified is the big work that's going to be coming up. So the only way I can see to sweeten the thing is to look at what other communities do, which is to have a graded water rate. Now, right now, in the town of Lancaster, you only pay 50 cents for your water if you use over 1 million gallons. There are 3 accounts that use over 1 million gallons on the last 6-month statement, and they use almost 7 million gallons over. So they're getting quite a price break. And if you want to know how that all figures out, that's almost 10% of the volume that runs through. I think isn't the volume close to 720. No, that's water and sewer. So the point is, people who are having a hard time with a more expensive water bill are the people who don't use much water and don't have much income. Now, it makes sense to make it more expensive the more water you use, because it encourages you not to use much water. Now, you can make that a real big bracket. You could make, so that there was a higher price when you got to 50,000 gallons every 6 months or something like that. And that would take some of the pressure off of the small users and put it back where it might be more fairly distributed. However, that puts a burden on the commercial people, somebody who has, I think that one of the trailer parks, the one out by Pack Solutions, that's a cooperative, right? So basically there's one water bill and you guys figure out who pays what. And you probably are close to the margin on it, so for you to absorb a big increase would be very difficult. Likewise, it's a pressure on landlords, people who have rent properties and stuff. If they have to raise their water rates, you can only go so high on your rent because people can only pay so much, so that could be a problem. But what I'd like to see is to figure out what the actual expenses that we have to meet are, and then to have a good idea of how much is coming up. I mean, I haven't heard a number about what we need, what we're facing in terms of deteriorating infrastructure. But there must be some number, and that's, I know that Robin is making a capital improvement plan, and she probably asked you and the highway department and everything else for your input on that. So if we're going to charge enough to cover our expenses and not leave ourselves exposed in the future, we have to know how much we have to collect to plan for the future. The way it's been done in the past is a bond issue. There's 2 bond issues in the water department, is that right? One is almost paid off 2 years, and the other one has got, what, 13 or 14 years left. And they're at reasonable interest rates, and they're well serviced, and that's how this problem has been handled in the past. You got to build a plant, you have a good credit rating, you float a bond. So that's one solution, but people who buy bonds and give you a reasonable interest rate like to see that you're being practical about putting a little money away too. So that's what I wanted to say about where the money goes and how to tell. So I think we need to take a close look at the financial realities, and then also I suggest we take a look at how to keep the pain off of the small users, the elderly and the under income. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, just Don.
Don Fredette again. You have a rate pay for water separately and sewer separately, am I right? Okay. People don't understand the cost of chemicals. He does. Chemicals aren't cheap like they used to be 14 years ago. Go to the store and buy a loaf of bread, tell me. He has to make sure that he's got the correct amount of chemical when he takes a sample of the water. He has to have the right chemical when he takes a sample for discharge that goes in the Connecticut River. That costs money. I understand what Bob is saying. At this point, the board understands that we don't have the money. That's the bottom line. But now, we're going to have to start from square one. That's the bottom line. Because of past that, water's over the dam, folks. Water's over the dam. Reality is, like I just said, Rick was saying, too bad there's not a lot of people here. This guy's looking for somebody to answer the phone. He already asked me, do I want a job? Because the phone's going to be ringing off the hooks. And you know who's going to be really? You guys. It's not his fault. And I just want the ratepayers to understand that. Whether they're in a mobile home park, I'm a landlord. So when I hook into the sewer, I'm going to be paying rate for a whole house, not 2, 1. So when that happens, I've been talking to this guy for 10 years about it. But regardless, as long as you have a fund separate for each unit, and that fund, X number of dollars, because he has to meet a certain budget for chemicals, and that's what people don't understand. Rita was asking me about, as I explained to her about stormwater. You're treating stormwater, just like that rain outside tonight. I don't want to be, repetitive, but that makes his job a lot harder. That's all I wanted to say, but I just wanted to just reaffirm those who are here that you're going to start from square one now. We don't have a choice. And to bring that step up from the $3 plus to $6.50, you're still giving us a break. You're still giving those who are users a break. So understand that when the rate goes up to where it needs to be so that we can get grant money coming in, it's going to go to a certain number, and that's when the manager says, now I can go for some money to help. Because the town does not benefit on stormwater the town has to pay 100% of all that stormwater that goes in his system. Figure that one out. We're treating stormwater. And the town's gonna have to absorb however many pipes that have to separate the storm system from the water. And the town's gonna eat that bill of the stormwater separation. That's not a nickel and dime job. This town is old, and it's got a lot of old stuff like some of us, like me. Thank you.
Anything further from the board?
Just close the hearing.
Yep. With that, we'll adjourn, take a motion to adjourn
I
the
make a
public hearing.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing on water and sewer rates. It has to be a roll call also, as I recall. Shane?
Aye.
KJ?
Aye.
And I'm aye. And where are we going from there?
Lancaster, New Hampshire. Grant. we have to
We've
accept.
got another public hearing on acceptance of unanticipated monies over $10,000. And this is to accept an Invest New Hampshire municipal per unit grant from the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs in the amount of $40,000. We'll motion to open.
Make a motion to open.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to open a public hearing. Roll call.
Aye.
KJ?
Yes, aye.
Aye. And we'll open that public hearing. Is there any
Jessica.
comments?
Mr. Chair, the BEA affordable units, there will be 4 units in the Democrat building, so we're receiving $10,000 per unit for the total of $40,000 from Invest New Hampshire. We're placing these funds into the land use account per our auditor to be used for planning and zoning purposes.
Any questions? Yes.
Rob Christie, 155 Mount Prospect Road. So the money is $40,000 and the grant benefits who?
The town.
The town? And so it has to do, this has to do with demolition at the Democrat building, is that right?
It's the housing units. There's a certain percentage that the town will be receiving, which is $10,000 per unit. So that money is going to come towards us.
Okay, and so that gets paid into the town, and the town just into the general fund, or what?
No, I
No,
believe
sir.
it's got to be
No,
used for
it's
planning and zoning.
It's like what Jessica just said.
Okay, I didn't hear.
Okay.
Listen better. So it's gonna be,
To support land use departments with expedited permitting and construction
so
of new housing.
because we're putting in 4 housing units, the grant is $10,000 per unit, and the money can be used by the planning and zoning for general purposes, it's not specific. I had it confused with the demolition loan or something like that. Sorry about that. Thank you for clarifying.
You bet.
Anything else?
So who is Leo Rideout Jr., 31, 37, and a few other Causeway addresses? Who's doing, it's a grant from the state to do these 4 units? And as part of that, they're giving us 40? Is that correct?
Yep.
So they're gonna put another $1 million in a building that we're only gonna get $10,000 worth of property tax from? Is that about like the PJ Noyce building?
Yeah, we did the 79.
Oh, there's-
Yeah.
That one will be for a certain number of years. I can't remember how many years it was approved for.
Okay, remember that, because when I build something, I'm coming. Thank you.
Anything else on the Invest New Hampshire? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to close.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
Kenny? Aye. The public hearing is closed. Anything else from the board? Jessica?
There's a third one. And then there's-
Do we just want to accept this grant though first?
Oh, yeah.
Get it done and over with?
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept the $40,000 grant from Invest New Hampshire.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to accept $40,000 from Invest New Hampshire Municipal Per Unit Grant. Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And now we have a third public hearing, which is acceptance of unanticipated monies over $10,000 to accept a highway safety grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety in the amount of $21,369.32. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call. Shane?
Aye.
KJ?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is open. And you got anything on that one, Jessica?
This was all overtime police salaries for increased enforcement.
For increased enforcement. Yep.
Okay. And that is a specific use for it. Okay. Is there anything from the public? Yes.
Rob Christie, 155 Mount Prospect Road. Is this the same monies that was discussed by the chief at the last meeting?
At the selectmen's meeting? Yes.
Was,
I
she
believe
gave
so.
a pretty good explanation of what it would be used for, so that's in the minutes. Thank you.
There's so much.
Anything else? Anything from the board?
Nope.
Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Roll call. Shane?
Aye.
KJ?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is closed. Any further discussion on the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the $21,369.32.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that one's done.
That was all prepared.
We have next to review the minutes of September 16th, 2024.
I make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the minutes from September 16th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then we have some various paperwork, which looks like poll licenses for Eversource on Middle Street.
That's
You waiting for me? Oh, I was going to sign it. Oh, I thought you were moving on. They're in here somewhere.
stickers. Oh, we got the, yeah, this is the minutes.
What's this one? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is the poll thing.
Yeah, this is the polls.
What is happening with the poll? Are we repairing a poll? What is the poll?
Petition and poll license. Let's see what that says.
That's usually,
They're putting a
they're
poll,
gonna put a
Middle
new
Street.
poll up.
A new
It says
poll.
right here.
Yep, 25 Middle Street.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's two copies,
So just one sign?
No, well, you need to sign both of them, but
Okay.
it's two copies, you know, like carbon copy.
Oh, gotcha.
Duplicate, triplicate. Gotta send a copy to them, keep a copy for me. Everybody wants signatures.
Okay.
Okay, Southworth. Okay, yeah.
And we'll move on to new business, 79 Main Street, Southworth Interlender Subordination Agreement. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So subordination, Mr. Southworth is redoing the Democrat building, and the building means a lot to the community. The town has provided him $80,000 from the revolving loan fund. Our $80,000 is a bridge for him to get started on the project, and he intends to pay it back much sooner with a balloon payment in the near future. He had to seek funding from other sources, as you can see from the bank in front of you, which this bank is requiring the town to sign off on the subordination contract. This means that they would receive first priority payment in the instance of a default. CEDC has conducted a risk analysis to find additional funding for Mr. Southworth, and they concluded that Mr. Southworth was considered to be low risk. So we are looking for to sign off on the.
take a vote on that subordination.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we sign.
The subordination agreement.
They're gonna get first on the thing, if they do lose it, the bank pays the full amount of taxes from day one.
In other words, no 79E tax break.
Yes.
I don't believe the 79E transfers with owners, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Does 79 transfer?
I don't know. Make a motion that we sign this.
The subordination agreement.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second to accept the subordination agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'd like to make a comment. The amount that's being subordinated is $8,000. Is that right?
80?
80.
How much have we lent him?
We've lent him 80.
80,000. Yeah.
So the bank is asking us to take second seat against our $80,000. In the future, perhaps we could ask Mr. Southworth or a similar applicant to go to the bank and borrow $80,000 more and pay us back. I understand that we're kind of helping him out and we want to see the Democrat building fixed up, but on the other hand, that's a pretty good deal, pretty good subsidy. So if you're being asked to subordinate, the answer can always be, well, just pay it off and then it won't be an issue. And if the bank apparently thinks they're creditworthy even with an $80,000 debt. Although second seat doesn't count, right? Thank you.
Just a reminder, if you're going to speak, will you please come to the microphone? It doesn't get picked up on the recording, and it's kind of handy.
No,
You do not need to repeat it all.
No, we're good.
This
And-
was in the future. Well,
looks like we have a paving bid.
We do. So we solicited bids for damage to the roads due to Hurricane Beryl from Blacktop, Amanusic Paving, and Central Paving.
This one is from Central Paving. They've got a breakdown of the different roads. But it looks like the total would be $58,324. That was the only bid we received.
What's that?
Is this going to be reimbursed by FEMA?
This is a reimbursed cost, which is 75%, 25% split.
Seeing that
And is this to be completed this season?
Yes.
And they knew that when
Yes.
they got this, that they can get it done this season? Okay.
Seeing that, any discussion? Entertain a motion to accept the bid as presented.
I make a motion to accept the bid as presented.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Guess you can go pave.
I don't
Maybe
think
she-
so.
I guess you can go
It says
pay.
owner contractor.
Okay. Maybe Jess signs it.
Jess can sign it,
Yeah.
I believe.
All right.
And is there any other business?
Storm, or rates. Okay.
And then under old business, we have a storm update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We spent, here in the Town Hall, we spent 3 full days surveying conditions throughout Lancaster in mid-September with FEMA representatives from District 1. They're out of Boston. The town is actively submitting all required foundational information to FEMA in their grants portal, including culvert permits, vehicle information, materials, policies, and so on. We are working to send along our first small project for reimbursement, but this reimbursement process will likely take many months before we see anything back. Every item that we send along to them is checked for accuracy at both the federal and the state level. So it could take 3-4 months. Once funds get obligated, they get obligated by both the federal level and the state level. When we pressed officials during a weekly Zoom call with them last week to chat with them about the manner in which we get reimbursed, understanding that there had been a little bit of bad press from FEMA in Vermont and the surrounding communities, and they expressed that the town staff has been extremely proactive in submitting required information, which will keep our processing time down. So if they are looking for information, the department heads and I are making sure that we address them quickly and accurately so we can continue to move the ball forward.
Should have told them you had a town full of illegals and needed motels.
Move on to select board members' reports.
I have nothing tonight.
I have nothing tonight.
And by golly, I have nothing tonight. If you've got a quick one, yes.
I do have a quick one. The Airport Commission, I may have mentioned it before, but we're gonna have an air show the last weekend of June. Gonna be a really big show, folks. And
Okay.
in the past, they've been kind of oriented to planes and pilots and stuff, but we're making a big effort to make this oriented to the local communities. So we'll have some good air shows, there'll be candy coming out of the helicopter for the kids, and maybe some line dancing if we can get you-know-who to arrange it. So that's coming up, the planning is going on, and want to let you know now so that you can start to build your excitement. And the airport, once again, is right down by the marsh in Whitefield, New Hampshire. So that's my airport report. Other than that, we are just preparing for winter, you know. You have to do a little plowing and chase the geese off when people want to land. And the river report, basically I spoke a little bit about that in wondering about the Lancaster school stuff. But in general, we are reviewing permits for people who want to put a dock in the Connecticut River or whatever. We are keeping an eye on the greater Connecticut basin because there's 17 or 18 players within that area, and there is room for one more river commissioner from Lancaster. And so let's get somebody, we're supposed to have 2, and that way I can take a day off once in a while. So thank you for your support. Come to the air show, and let's go skating on the river this winter.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. And Jessica, town manager's report?
Yeah, I had just an update from the public smoking conversation from a couple of meetings ago. We spoke with our legal counsel at NHMA to talk about public smoking and whether or not there was any type of creative ordinances surrounding smoking and emissions. Jurisdiction for emissions actually lies with the state commission, so it's not anointed to town, so we do not have any, we can't police or put any zoning policies and ordinances into place. If you are interested in doing something, we can go after it from the littering, like cigarette butts, if that's something that the select board would like to take up at a later time. Chief Flynn and I are gathering information from surrounding EMS providers to have a conversation about 2025 rates, and we'll be using this information along with considerations from the June 3rd, 2024 work session to provide a holistic view of rates to the Select Board during November's work session. We kicked off work with North Country Council for a road surface management system program with Land Use Coordinator Irving and Highway Director Brown. North Country Council may be waiving the match for us as we are only their second community to move this type of project forward. This program will provide us an inventory of roads with condition and will note culvert locations and conditions in order to help prioritize and be a consideration for capital improvement plans. Talking about water, we have the federal lead and copper rule revisions, and the proposed lead and copper rule improvements require public water systems to inventory all lead service lines and galvanized, requiring replacement downstream of lead by October 16, 2024. What does this mean? This means a lot of additional work for our water and wastewater department, which requires notification to be made to all lead service lines unknown. So if we don't have enough information about what is available, what pipes are known to you, we're going to have to send out a note to you, and this is about 1,097 units. So this is a lot of notifications going out on October 16th. We anticipate a lot of questions and commentary from the public. We've been working to talk about the administrative aspect and also build out the website so we can display as much information as possible. Just if you get this type of notification, it does not mean that you have a lead line, but it does mean that we can't prove it at the second. It requires some additional resource and research into what pipes are available. We know that this has been ongoing work, and it's going to add up a lot of work over the years if we don't, get an accurate inventory for what people have for lines. There is funding available in 2026 through 2028, and we'll be working on this and spending a lot of time on this program. I was approached by 3 students from SAU 36 about their class on the U.S. and the Cold War history. So they're taking a history class and they'd like to write an article. As part of that, they would like to clean the war monument at the Centennial Memorial. So they will be doing that later this week, and we'll be likely writing an article and sending it along to news sources. We had 4 welfare requests within the past couple of weeks and 1 approval. The Parade of Lights is October 11th. That's this Friday at 7 p.m. The trail work in the town forest started today. Great day for that, right, in the rain. And they are still looking for volunteers for their work days on October 12th and October 26th. That's it for me.
All right. Then we have a bunch of just different information. Planning board meeting notice will be October 9th at 6:30. We got land use permits. And then, when do we want to do the?
Do you want to do it tonight or think about it until the next meeting? Or are you talking about the rates?
No.
What do you
That next meeting.
Oh,
non-public.
non-public. Jessica, we need to go into non-public.
We do, yes. Mr. Chair, ask that you enter into non-public session 95A3 2J. It's consideration of confidential, commercial, or financial information that is exempt from public disclosure under RSA 91A5.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
The motion is second to go into non-public session for 95A.
95A3 2J.
A3 2J, which is
A3 2J.
discuss contract, basically.
Yep.
To discuss contract. Yep.
Okay, do we need to do a roll call or no?
Yes, we do.
Aye.
Shane's an aye. KJ?
Aye.
Aye. I think it would be easier for us to go into Jess's office.
Will it be?
Do you remember?
Entertain a motion to
come back into public session?
I'll make that
Pretty much
motion.
make
I'll
all of
second.
them, yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Shane?
Aye.
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 Roll call. Okay.
We are back in public session. I'll entertain a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public session until April 1st, 2025.
I'll make, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to seal the minutes until April 1st, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then,
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
I don't think we need to do an amendment, but we can just motion.
Second motion.
Yep.
Second motion?
Yep.
Okay.
This was on the
Highway safety grant.
yeah,
Yep.
for the 21,000. Yep.
Okay. So we're good?
We're
So
going to
gonna
make a
ma-
motion that Jessica's the,
Signer.
Yep.
yeah, the official
Authorized.
authorized
Authorized.
signer. I'll make that motion.
So we got a motion to authorize Jessica Sear to be the signer on the highway safety grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety in the amount of $21,369.32. Is there any discussion on the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's done.
Yep.
Move on to public comments.
Rob Christie, 155 Mount Prospect Road. Just going back to the conservation grants and stuff like that, right now, the person who was granted the authority to execute, et cetera, is still Ben Olson, and I wasn't sure if you wanted to make a motion to change that to Jessica Sear, if you know, to
We have to
to
do that
cross
on
the
all the
Ts and
grants?
dot the Is. You could do that next meeting, you know.
Would
when
we
we're-
have to do it for every grant that is in existence since the
Well, you
time?
did it for the Moose Grant, and you did it for,
We went back,
Yeah, we did.
you
Okay.
did it for the Moose Grant, and I think you
the
did it for
hazardous
one other. and I
mitigation
think-
enhancement fund? Is that the other
Well,
one?
actually, I think it was for the ARM fund, you authorized him to be the signator if the thing went through. I'm just mentioning that as it's a loose end.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
So I dug it out somewhere, but you just go back to the minutes and see which ones, if you want to do name substitutes.
Yeah.
Because we usually
Yeah.
Yeah.
go back and try to figure out which ones that we need to
Which we
do
need to
that
change that
authorization
on.
on.
It wouldn't just be conservation. It
and
might be
there's-
some
There
Robin.
might be some other ones.
Yeah,
I think there's the MEF Mitigation
that's a
Enhancement
mitigation
Fund.
enhancement fund, yeah.
The only one that Michael set up some books, and the only one that has any money in it is the Moose Fund, I think, or is it the MEF? I don't remember. It's in your budget. You can look at that tomorrow.
Yep.
So that's just one of those housekeeping things.
Yep.
And the other thing I'd like to mention is an old topic, recovery of stipend fees from Troy Murner. Now, I know that you guys have looked at that several times and have sent the letters. And I think that the general conclusion has been that it might cost more money in lawyers' fees than you might recover. However, as a citizen, I still feel a little bit insulted and taken advantage of by Troy, and I think others do. There is a mechanism that I'd like the board to look into, which is suing him in small claims court. That can be done. A businessman can do that, or a person can do. I think the fee to go to court is $75 or something like that, and that is another approach. And what makes it particularly easy now, as opposed before, is Troy has pled guilty at the state level. In case, he now entered guilty pleas and agreed that he did those things. So that removes sort of the preponderance of discovery, et cetera, and makes it fairly easy to go in and petition the small claims court. So I would like the board to consider doing that. I think one of the questions is, can a town appear in a small claims court? I know that a business person can, et cetera, and should the town decline or not be eligible to appear, I would consider assembling a group of citizens or petitioner committee to go to small claims court. It's partly the money and it's partly the principle.
Okay.
Any questions for me?
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any excuses from the board not taking small claims court? Any arguments not to?
Just the time it's gonna take from staff and stuff. I've been a long time since I've done anything in a small claims court, so I'm not sure. It's something we can look into.
I've been on both sides of the small claims court, and if the time is minimal, and the expenses, anybody can do it, anyone, you three can do it, Jerry can do it on behalf of the town, just show up and present your case.
Oh,
The case has
standing.
already been presented, the bills are there, all you gotta do is show them. What judge is gonna say to him, you don't have to pay, after you're guilty?
There is one wild card, which is if the accused says he wants to go to jury trial, then all of a sudden it becomes more expensive to do it. And who in this room thinks that he would do something like that if I even wasn't getting in trouble? Anyway.
Well, if you did, I'm sure that you would still be able to represent one person, you would still be able to represent the town. It's a slam dunk case. I think it should be done. The general opinion out on the street is it should be done.
Okay. Anything,
Standing. Oh,
anything further from the board?
No,
Seeing that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.